So, welcome to part 2. Let's continue where we left off. Now I'm going to talk about the documents. The dreaded documents. Organize. Organize your documents. I cannot stress this enough. You need to be extremely organized and be on top of what you send out, what you have at hand, who you need something from. It's a lot of paperwork that you need when you're applying to teach English in South Korea. There was so much paperwork. All right, shut up, Shelly. Let's talk about the documents. So either before I got on the Skype call or right after I got off the Skype call, I was collecting everything I needed, not only for the EPIK application during and in the future, but I was also collecting things for if I actually got accepted by the EPIK program after the interview. Yes, that sounds a little bit crazy, but I would just rather be safe than sorry, even if I wasn't going to get the job. Because at the time, I just finished my TEFL and the application was going to be due in a month. So I felt that time crunch. I needed to get all my documents basically within a month's time. And that was extremely stressful, but again, organize. And another thing, I got double of everything. Literally, I got double of everything. If it asked for 1, I got 2. If it asked for 2, I asked for 4. I wanted to make sure that I have everything, and because a lot of this was like being dependent on mailing, if I suddenly had something get lost in the mail, I'd have a backup and that I was ready to go. Whew, man, I was a nervous wreck. I still am a nervous wreck, but you want to be sure, you want to play it safe. That's just my opinion. This is what I did right after I got off that Korvia phone call. I hope you guys don't hear that like crying child outside my window. Letters of recommendations. I was reaching out and getting my letters of recommendations, and it's really important that you really send out a detailed email, not only because you want to help make your recommenders have an easier life, but also the EPIK application has requirements on how the letter of recommendations should look, such as using official letterheads. I sent them a very detailed email, which also included a Korvia post about what they need to do for the letter of recommendation. First, they needed to send me a PDF scan of it so that I could have it and also send it to Korvia. Definitely needed a physical copy. So first I got the PDF and then I got the physical copies. And the physical copies need to be sealed and probably preferably signed. I got some professional photos, thanks to my friend James, and I printed out the paper application. My initial documents, which included the application, my letter of recommendations, and my professional photos, all of those were my priority. And luckily, I was able to submit them on time. The EPIK application has a first come, first served policy. So they're sending it in and they're checking it as they come in. So I was really nervous about that, and I was really rushing it. I was so nervous that I actually took a weekend trip upstate to my college just to pick up the letter of recommendations and my transcripts in person so that I could have them in my hand. I will forever be grateful for my recommenders. Don't be like me. Give your recommenders time to do stuff. After sending all my stuff in, my recruiter Victoria told me that it would take 1 to 2 weeks for them, Korvia, to look over my application to make sure everything was in place and everything looked good. And a week later, I got an email stating that Korvia sent my application to EPIK. Yay! So now I officially applied. Yay! And all I had to do was just wait and see when I was going to get my interview. But during that waiting time, I was still getting documents. I did my fingerprinting at a local police station, which was a little bit nerve-wracking, not gonna lie, but the police officer was extremely nice. Emphasized that my fingerprints really needed to be clear. I also used 2 of them just in case. And I sent it off to do the FBI background check using a service that Korvia had on their website, just so that I could get it faster, quicker, more efficiently. My results really did come in a week. So it was pricey, but it was worth it. I sent it off to the Department of State to get it apostilled. Then I had to get my college degree notarized and apostilled. So I went to UPS to get it notarized, and then I sent it to the Secretary of State to get it apostilled. Finally, I got my college transcript sent to me. Honestly, during this time, it was a lot of emailing and mailing things out and hoping that everything would just come back to me. So once again, when it comes to the documents, organized. Oh my god, this is taking a lot longer than I thought. But thank you for listening to me, because this is a lot easier than doing individual messages. I really hope this is helpful. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about the EPIK interview prep. Woo! I was keeping in touch with my recruiter, just letting her know what I was doing casually as I was waiting for my interview email. And then suddenly, boom! I got an email! I got an email that scheduled my interview for EPIK. That's literally what I wrote in my email to my recruiter. I submitted my application on September 22nd, and I got my email about my interview on October 24th. So that took about a month for them to get back to me. It was scheduled on October 31st. Ooh, spooky. And I honestly thought maybe I could get away with wearing a Halloween costume just to get some brownie points and to be festive, but I went against the idea, because I had to be professional. And at the time, my MacBook was acting up, and I was so stressed out that I had to go to the Apple store just to get my MacBook checked, because you only get one shot, and I'm not gonna mess this up. I'm not gonna mess this up. I am not gonna mess this up. I am not gonna mess up my moment. This is it. Again, a really great thing about having a Korvia recruiter is that she actually scheduled a call with me, a Skype call with me before my scheduled time to give me some advice and to help me calm down before my interview. She checked out the clothes that I was wearing, made sure that I was in a really good place in my house. At the time, I went into my kitchen because the walls were white. She also gave me some really helpful tips, like putting my hair up, because at the time I had blonde hair and it could have helped with, like, I don't know, hiding some of the color. It was really helpful to talk to her before my interview, and then it was time to do my interview. So in regards to the EPIK interview, honestly, from what I've heard, it's kind of like a random draw. You're not exactly sure who you're going to get and what your interviewer will ask you. Sometimes you don't even see your interview. They'll have their cameras off and you'll only hear their voice, or they'll have their cameras on and you can interact with them. And while some of the questions are kind of standard, such as, why Korea? Why do you want to be a teacher? Why do you think you'll be a good teacher? There are some other questions that they add into the mix. It depends on their interviewer. Like, even some interviews will just end really early, while other interviews take up the entire time that's allotted for you. I think I got really lucky because the interviewer that I had was maybe a year or two older than me. I'm not sure, because Korean beauty really makes you look younger. She was really, really nice, and I kind of noticed that she was wearing really casual clothes. My interviewer not only was looking to see if I was fit or not for the teaching job, it also seemed like she was interested in whether or not I could fit living in South Korea. It wasn't whether or not I could eat spicy food or if I could speak Korean fluently, but it seemed like it was mostly about my ability to adapt and be flexible. And these are things that I fully agree and understand why she would check, because it's super important anywhere you go in the world. It's super important for them to know, because they're investing a lot of money, giving you housing, all the good stuff. And if you come here and you're not really interested in living here and just decide to suddenly leave or just have a really bad time, that's something that they wouldn't want if you're coming to teach here. So my interviewer was really nice, really friendly, and really pleasant. I had a really good conversation with her, and I felt really good about my job interview. After I finished my interview, I sent an email off to Victoria just to let her know that I finished it. And then it was just waiting to see if I passed. And then 2 days later, after the interview, I got accepted! This was on November 2nd. So, now that I've been accepted into the EPIK program, I have to submit every document that I've collected physically to South Korea.
Hello, this is me, Future Shelly. As I'm editing this video, I actually realized that I did not mention something that's pretty important. After you pass their interview, it doesn't quite mean that you're employed by EPIK. You've made it as a candidate, but now the EPIK program has to send all your documents to the different offices of education. If those offices look at your application and they like you and they have a spot, then you'll be placed there. And so at this point, you're just waiting to see if they have room for you somewhere. So it's not a guaranteed offer for you yet, but it's just a waiting game to see if they have room for you somewhere and where your placement would be.
I sent all of my documents, double checked everything on November 8th to the EPIK office. I did like the super express tracked packaging, which was probably like 50 or 60 bucks, but I had everything I had built up for the past 3 months and I wasn't going to lose it. So it needed to get there and everything needed to be in one piece in one place. I got an email that they received my documents literally the next day. Worth it! Yay! There was some documentation that I needed after the acceptance. I collected a few more things, such as my residency certificate. It helps so that I don't have to pay taxes, South Korean taxes, for the first 1 or 2 years while living in South Korea. So if you intend to be here for at least 2 years, then you should have 2 because the residency certificate only works for 1 year. The residency certificate was something that was a little bit stressful for me at the time because there was something going on with the government. I mean, I feel like there's always something going on with the government, right? But it was slowing the process down. Luckily, I was able to get my residency certificate on time. So definitely try to send this form in as early as possible just so that you can have it. So now I'm going to talk about the visa prep, which involves the notice of appointment and a contract. You need these things to get a visa. EPIK can't send you a notice of appointment or a physical contract until they've checked everything that you've sent in and made sure that everything was up to standard and everything was exactly what they asked you to do. They needed everything to be perfect, basically. So during this time, I was preparing to get my visa, but not getting my visa. Luckily, I lived in New York City at the time, so the embassy was in the city. I was able to go in person. And before I went to the embassy, I actually made a phone call to the office just to double check on what I needed to bring to get my visa. Something that I remembered when I was on the phone, she noted a price that was different from what I saw on the embassy website, or she noted something about the way I had to pay. Either way, it was something different than what was on the website. I felt more assured knowing that the nice lady on the phone was giving me the information I needed. Again, it doesn't hurt to double check. You can look at the website, but it's also okay to just give them a call to make sure that you'll have everything at hand so you don't have to come back or redo your visa thing again. I prepared all the documents I needed for the visa. I got my notice of appointment and then I walked in and I got my visa. Yay! I didn't get my notice of appointment until after I got my placement. My placement came to me on January 3rd. January 3rd! I got an email that I was placed in Daegu. I was officially employed by the EPIK program and was going to start my process in moving to South Korea. My acceptance to the EPIK program was on November 2nd, and I got my placement on January 3rd. As you can imagine, I was under a lot of stress for those 2 months. My notice of appointment arrived on January 6th, and that's when I went to go get my visa. And of course, once you get your visa, I just booked the flight. I got my flight information, and then I sent off all that information to Korvia. They sent me back information that I needed about orientation, and they also gave me some tips and advice on things that I should prepare for and pack, such as having a certain amount of money, which is what I mentioned earlier, you should save money before you get into Korea, and thinking about all the things that I think I would need that I can't get in South Korea. I took off on a plane from JFK on February 18th and I landed in Busan because that's where my orientation was on February 19th. Time difference. So yeah, that was basically the timeline of what I did for the EPIK application. There wasn't really a lot of details on what my lesson plan looked like or like what I wrote and stuff. And that's something that I kind of hope I would go through in frequently asked questions in a future FAQ. So if you actually are interested in that stuff, or if you have extra questions that I haven't addressed, just let me know. I don't know, leave a comment. So overall, my process for the EPIK program really officially started when I signed up for my TEFL course at the end of May, applying to Korvia and everything in August. And honestly, I just want to say, without Korvia helping me throughout the way and helping me submit the documents and look through everything and give me advice, I'm not sure if I would have had such a smooth experience applying for the EPIK program. I really appreciated the guides that were on their website and also the extremely detailed emails that they would send during the process. So once again, I highly recommend that you use Korvia Consulting. Such a great service to have. Yeah, this is kind of awkward because I'm not exactly sure what to do at the end of a video. So yeah, that's my timeline. That's what I did. And if you have any questions, just ask me. That's it. I hope you have a great day. See you later.